I'm going to show you how to make 100 million gold in 24 hours. I did exactly this in preparation for this video. In fact, here's an easy tip anyone can use right now with very little effort. You can sell the elixirs that you've gathered from Hell Tides for millions of gold. A great deal for anyone running Lilith. Now, I'm using a website called Diablo.trade. Not a sponsor. I like it because it uses what seems to be an AI to automatically scan your items into its interface, so it's zero effort. But more importantly, there's actually people using the website, with some of my items selling within minutes of listing them. Now, I'm going to be going over all of the desirable stats on each piece of gear. You do not need 20 years of experience in Diablo to know what sells. Amulet, movement speed is highly desirable, followed up by damage reduction, and usually a second form of damage reduction as well. Now, obviously, +2 class skills is going to greatly improve the price of this item. Here's an example on how much it improves the price. So for the Druid, just having +2 to end venom and one of the 3 previous stats, so movement speed, damage reduction, whatever, greatly increases the price of an amulet. Here's a pro tip too. If you're playing on a rogue, attack speed after dodge is a highly desirable stat, not just for the rogue, but other classes as well. On the Druid, we cannot roll that particular stat, so we're buying these rogue items up and paying a lot of gold. Rings are by far the easiest to find and the most lucrative. Here are the most desirable stats. You want vulnerable damage, crit chance, and maximum life. Now, there are 4 complementary stats as well that are going to increase the value. Lucky hit, resource generation, barrier generation, and just straight up crit damage. The reason why rings are the easiest item to sell is because of the 3 malignant sockets. It basically divides the ring supply into 3 because of the different colors. Offhands, this is by far the most obscure. It can be different for many different classes, but there are some staples that you need to look for. Resource generation, damage reduction, crit chance, and also lucky hit. Here's a really cool cheat. Let's say you're playing on the Necromancer and you do not know if the shield that you found is desirable. All you need to do is go to your favorite build site, check out what is meta in the category for Necromancers, and check out the stats that people are looking for these meta builds. Now, Helms are very, very simple. Maximum life, cooldown reduction. Now, the complementary stats can be total armor, basic attack speed, or all stats, or some form of core stat, say plus to strength. Keep in mind that if the gear is good for you, it's probably going to be good for someone else. Now, chests and pants fall into the exact same category. People use these items almost exclusively for damage reduction. Damage reduction, usually a second or a third version of damage reduction, maximum life, and total armor. Just think defense exclusively. Pants are probably the hardest item to sell because it is quite easy to roll all of your damage reduction stats on them. Chests, on the other hand, are the absolute opposite. It's very hard to get all defensive stats, and if you can find it, it's going to sell for a heap of gold. Damage reduction from distant enemies is the least desirable DR out of all the damage reduction stats. Gloves. This is a really cool item. You want attack speed, crit chance, and lucky hit. But if you can roll +3 to a certain stat, for example, tornado or rapid fire, the value of your gloves are going to hugely increase. Another really cool stat to look for as well, if you're on the Druid, storm cooldown reduction is desirable. So getting attack speed after dodge and attack speed is going to make your gloves worth so much more. If you're playing on a rogue, it's a great item to look out for. Just make sure that the item does not say rogue only written down the bottom. Now, boots are very similar to rings. They're very easy to find and very easy to to sell. People love buying boots and are happy to pay a little bit extra for the better stats. Here's the priority. You want movement speed, all stats, damage reduction while injured, or any form of dodge or fortified generation. Do not try and sell a pair of boots unless they have movement speed, and try and find some variation of the remaining 4. Now, weapons, just like offhands, can go a little bit all over the place, but there are some constants that will always sell. Vulnerable damage, crit damage, core stats, all stats, or damage to close. The first 2 being the most important, vulnerable damage and crit damage. The damage also plays a role in the value of this item as well. Now, I'm going to leave you with some really easy takeaway tips while you're selling your gear. Always price check your items first. See what other people are selling your similar gear for, and then undercut them. Okay, so if you've got a lot of patience and you really want to squeeze out an extra few million, just sell it at the same price. For me, I want to move my stuff within 24 hours because I value the stash space. Now, if an item has not sold within 2 days, it probably will not sell. My personal technique is to half the price. I'm happy to give someone a really great deal and just get the item out of my inventory and sold. Now, lastly, the final tip, this is very cliche, but it works, okay? If you're gonna sell an item for 20 million, listing it for 19 million, you will sell the item far quicker at the cost of what is 1/20th of the sell price. Also, don't take this too far by going, say, 9,999,000. Just make it 9 million instead of 10.